Welcome to the Innovation Forge. Next up, I want to look at scoring bands. And we're going to use a more intricate behavior here. So we're going to actually, we can make a copy of our behavior with decision date, just because that already has that coalescing deposit deadline. So we're just going to make a copy of this, and we're going to do click rate pre-deposit. Maybe pre-deposit, students have a very specific click rate that you're looking at, or maybe if you want to look at this post-deposit, it's still going to be the same. You can still use the same approach to comparison against decision dates. So instead of joining, though, to our form responses and then form, we're actually going to be looking at emails that the student is receiving and then how they're engaging with those, whether that's opening them, clicking them. And this comes, of course, with the big asterisk of there are services like Apple Mail that is opening and clicking things, the emails that are coming to the student. But that's also why we're using this as an example for score bands, because we can look at those students with 100% click rate, and maybe they behave very similar to the students who don't open anything because it's just the system opening and clicking emails. So we can actually apply our scoring rubric and treat them as if they opened 0 emails. And of course, there's noise in that. There are going to be some students that did open and click every single email you sent, but probably not a lot, if at all. So we're going to use this pre-existing export that we have, but we're going to change things up a bit. Maybe this is emails sent. And we're going to, just as a placeholder, so we can delete this form start date. And delete this join, delete this join. And we're just going to join from the person table to messages. And of course, messages has 3 S's. It's very common English confusion that it's only 2 S's. So we're joining from person to messages. And we'll update this in a second. But let's look at some of the filters you might want to be using when you are going to be counting emails being sent to the student. So maybe we just do messages method. So we only care about emails versus like SMS text messages. And maybe we want to look at the type. Well, we are most certainly going to want to look at the type, because that distinguishes if a student is sending the message. So like an external message is an email that's moving into the Slate instance from, this could be the student emailing you, could be the counselor, could be a parent. It's those emails on the student timeline that are coming into Slate. And you might have to assign that email to the student record, especially if the student has multiple records or there's multiple email addresses, or like I said, it's a counselor or a parent that's just not going to catch on the student's record automatically. But we're just caring about the students receiving emails. So this is deliver mailing is the emails that come through deliver. Form communication, maybe they signed up for a form and they got an automatic confirmation email or a reminder email. And then ad hoc messages, if you're on the student's profile and you click on their hyperlinked email address there on the dashboard, and that opens up that pop-up that gives you the opportunity to email them. That's ad hoc messages. So we're just caring about all of those types. And again, there's probably some nuance between those types of 3 emails, how important they are, what kind of information is being delivered, but we're just looking more broadly at all emails being sent to the student. And if you want to look more specifically at status, these are all mutually exclusive. So a student whose status is in click, we want to count that, as well as maybe like sent and open. There's a lot of pieces here, as well as like if they were skipped because it was a duplicate email, or if they were opted out. There's lots of options here. We're not going to go through all these details, but let's just click on clicked, delivered, open, sent for this use case. Because these are basically emails that the student has a chance to click or open. We're not looking at like, oh yeah, this student's email is bouncing 5 out of the 10 times we emailed them, so they at most have a 50% click rate or open rate possibility. Just not looking to get into that kind of nuance with this specific export. So we also want to look at these email behaviors that are happening maybe before deposit and after accept. So that window may be March, April that you're working with, and being able to more strategically do your outreach to them. So let's just do the message delivered date being before that deposit. And we can just make a copy of that. Maybe we want after admit. And we want specifically emails that are happening after the admit decision was actually opened or received. So we're just going to inactivate that so it doesn't have to calculate it. So we're going to do decision. Let's just see that received open dates, because we're really caring about how the student is reacting to the institution's decision to admit them in that window before deposit. So maybe you confirm it a few days before the decision is released, and maybe the student didn't get it until a week later. We really want to know about that nuance of the student knows they're admitted and before they're actually depositing what these kinds of behaviors are. So we're just going to look at message delivered date, and we're going to say this is after, oh, I did decision. Sorry about that all. I want the accept date, not the deposit date. And I'm going to leave this in because editing, and I'm human. So we're going to look at messages being delivered after the decision was received or opened. So we're going to save a copy there. And then I didn't actually messages delivered date. There we go. Very human, guys. Okay, so we're going to count all of these emails. So we're going to save that. And maybe we also want to look at emails opened. So we're going to change the status and remove sent and delivered. So these are students who opened and clicked emails. So because these are mutually exclusive, we do need both of those, unless you want to count just people in that limbo of opened but did not click. So we're going to leave that. And we're going to do clicked. And maybe you just want to have these data points of how many emails did we send to the student, or how many emails did they open. We can just save this. And I think this is a good point to now transition into that click rate and applying score bands. So maybe we want to make a copy of this. So we just built how many emails were sent to the student, how many they opened, how many they clicked. And these are all specifically counting after the student had received their admission decision and before they deposited. And if they didn't deposit, that application or commitment deadline.